When was the last time you embraced change with confidence? Not resistance, not avoiding it, not holding on with a death grip because you're totally afraid of what's going to be on the other side, but really embraced change confidently. Well, if you can think of a time or two, congratulations. Not a lot of people can say that. And that's okay because our brain is wired to keep us safe. And change does not feel safe. In fact, it feels really scary, really overwhelming, stressful. Case in point, I was a sophomore in college, and I was a very responsible business, marketing, and management double major. And I didn't love it, and my parents knew that, and they knew I needed a break. So they gifted me with a trip to New York. I loved the theater. I saw 5 shows in 5 days, and it was wonderful. And when the curtain went down on Jennifer Jason Leigh's performance in Proof, I bawled my eyes out. I completely sobbed. I lost it in front of everyone. My mom is looking at me like, Paige, are you okay? And I said, I don't want to be a business marketing and management major anymore. I want to be a theater major. And of course, she looked at me as the loving mother that she is. And she said, well, of course you do, sweetheart. Your dad and I were just waiting for you to figure it out. I couldn't believe it. It totally changed what I had in my head thought a certain way it was going to go if I confessed to my parents I wanted to be a theater major. I looked at her and I said, wait, you're not mad? And she said, no, honey, we want you to do what makes you happy. But also, your dad and I are only going to pay for 4 years of college, so you need to figure it out fast. And that's what I did. I figured it out fast with that lovely reminder. Thank you, Mom. I was so grateful that she gave me that opportunity to change, to embrace that, to pivot. And I also decided in that moment, I don't want to go back to making decisions based on fear. I don't want to be scared of these things. I want to be willing to lean into change. So as life does, it gave me plenty of opportunities to embrace change over the years. So moving from different cities to different states, getting married, having kids. You want to learn to embrace change? You just have some kids. Okay. So after that, career. I was an elementary school teacher for 15 years, living on light bulb moments and hugs. It was wonderful. And then I knew it was time for me to change that career. So I did. I started my own professional organizing company, and I loved that. Geek out over organizing, so exciting. And then, as my business is thriving, the pandemic hits. Like most of us, we remember those days. Don't think about it too long. So I had to figure out a way to stay relevant to my clients. And I didn't want them to forget I'm the girl that you call if you need to get organized. So I started the Moms Organization Motivation Podcast. And quickly, it shot to the top of the charts. Still in the top 1% of podcasts globally. We all needed to get organized on the home front. Later, people said, I love these 3 E's and the way you're teaching us to get organized. You should put it in a book. I didn't know how to write a book. So I figured that out, and I decided I'm going to embrace this change. And I did. And the book hit bestseller. Wild. Later, I decided, okay, while I'm loving what I'm doing, this is wonderful. It felt like it wasn't quite aligned with where I was going. And it was time for me to pivot again. So naturally, I decided to start another podcast, and I called it the Time to Pivot Podcast. Now, embracing change became the norm in my life. But where does the pivoting with confidence part come in? I realized over the years, as I went through all of these changes, that there was a pattern. And it turns out there's an art to the pivot. These are the 3 things that I did, and I would love for you to keep them in mind next time you've got a big change coming up. Number 1, do your research. It's the fastest way to feel more confident. When you're learning more about what this thing is that you're about to embark on, getting all the information helps us feel prepared. Knowledge is power, right? Number 2, Focus on one thing at a time. Okay, I am guilty of getting shiny object syndrome, but I gotta tell you, I wasn't trying to do a podcast and starting my own company and writing a book and parenting and doing all these things all at once, because when we do that, we spread ourselves too thin. So if you can focus on one thing at a time, that is gonna help you move through that change and that pivot with more confidence. And finally, and honestly, this is the hardest one for me, ask for help. People want to be helpful. That was something that I had to learn. This life is not a solo mission. It is not meant to be done alone. So the next time that you are feeling stressed or nervous or anxious or fearful about what's on the other side of a big change, do your research. Focus on one thing at a time and ask for help. I hope that these are things that will be helpful for you. So the next time that you have got some big change that's coming your way, whether you want it or not, you can embrace change, trusting that everything's going to work out for your good. You can pivot with confidence and be prepared to watch the blessings flow in.